Let's begin the show. Everybody wants to become rich, but it cannot happen overnight, and there is a process to be followed. And to tell us what are the guiding principles of achieving financial freedom and becoming wealthy, today on board I have Santosh Navlani, CEO, ET Money. Santosh, good evening and welcome to the show. So you are going to tell us a secret behind becoming rich or creating the wealth that you need in order to be financially free. There are a lot of rules, okay? Every financial planner comes up with a lot of obviously the kind of recommendations people give is based on their experience and their understanding of investors. But Santosh, you and ET Money have come up with 7 simple principles I'm talking about, which are very easy to understand, but for a lot of people it could be difficult to implement. So let's break this down. And building wealth. When I talk about wealth, what do you actually mean? How much can you quantify? Can you quantify it in the first place? What do you actually mean by creating a wealth?
Hi, Kavita. So, I think we will talk about simple principles and not secret principles because I think there's no secret to building wealth. It's all about simple principles of following them. But as you mentioned, they're hard to actually implement in daily life. And I think if you implement them well, then I think everybody can afford or possibly can aim to retire a crorepati in India. And we've covered this topic multiple times in the past as well. It's very surprising that it's actually quite easy to retire crorepati in India. But most people don't do it. So I think to answer your question on the wealth, what does it mean? I think it's more about being an owner of your own time, in my opinion, than anything else. Because when you are achieving that status where you're owner of your time and you're not really selling your time to anybody in form of employment or professional services, is when you actually have truly created wealth for yourself that you can afford to not really give or sell your time to anybody else, but give it to your own self. So I think it's more a philosophical way of putting it, but I don't think any kind of number can quantify what wealth creation is. I think everybody has their own number, own aspirations in life, but I think everybody aspires to reach a stage where you don't sell your time for money anymore and are happy in that zone and how you're living your life and spending your day.
All right, so Santosh, let's get started with these principles. And what's the first one?
And the first one is as simple as we may kind of sound too kind of pedagogic about it, but it's like never spend more than you can earn or you are earning. And if you follow that, the two things happen very nicely into this. One is you avoid debt traps. You don't get into things or buy things for which you have to borrow money from bank, be it on loan or a credit card or any kind of no cost EMI or low cost EMI. If you don't do that, you add up actually to your savings. And if you save more money on a monthly basis, then chances are very high that you will find a way to put that into productive assets like a mutual fund SIP or equity or even fixed deposits or other forms of traditional savings instruments. And that money over a period of time can grow. While we think that sometimes getting rich requires you to earn 15-20% CAGR, in our opinion, even earning 8 to 10 to 12% annualized compounded growth on your capital can make you filthy rich over long periods of time. So one simple principle is expend only that you can afford and spend less than what you can spend less than what you're earning right now is one golden principle to follow in my opinion. That's the first one.
So when we talk about this particular principle, a lot of time people just collect a lot of debt on them. Is there a formula to also pay it off, especially talking about the Diwali shopping? You know, we are just out of this shopping scene and a shopping phase. The festivities have just gotten over. What about those people who've maybe gone over budget or are busy paying off their credit cards? How do you deal with debt when I talk about following this principle?
Yeah, I'm sure most people actually have maxed out their credit card limits and also possibly fallen prey, as I call it, to no cost EMIs by actually buying things they don't necessarily need, but they may just want it. And I think there was a lot of FOMO factor in the entire festive season where even if you don't really need to buy things, people actually spending time on e-commerce websites and apps to see what is it that something they can possibly buy even if they don't need just because of discount going on. So I think many people fall into this trap of buying things they don't need, and only when you are able to control these urges. And I think many banks or credit card companies would send you messages: if you spend this kind of threshold, there is bonus points to be earned, bonus cashbacks to be earned, flat discounts on certain categories. You have to possibly just take a step back and say, do you really need this product, or do you are you falling into trap of taking on debt, which necessarily can go into actually savings and investing your money for the future?
Are you a disciplined shopper and a smart shopper? How do you shop?
I think I would like to consider myself a disciplined shopper. I do get FOMO feelings at times where I'm not buying things, but I have a habit of not buying things which I don't need.
That's interesting. A takeaway for our viewers to learn from. Okay, you also say the next principle is understand and motivate yourself for wealth creation. How can one do that?
Yeah, so I think in eating money as well, I think we notice a lot of our investors and users actually, when you ask them what kind of goals you have into the app when they're investing, most people actually don't apply their thought process in a detailed manner to answer that question. And most people end up saying, I want to become a crorepati, or basically I just want to kind of do wealth creation. And while end goal of any kind of financial planning would be to accumulate X crores or Y crores or Z crores, the fact of life is, if you only have that number in mind, you would possibly be tracking your wealth on daily basis with that number. And the problem of tracking numbers is numbers actually go up and down as markets go up and down daily basis. So if markets go up and down, it actually will waver your mind a lot more and might be triggering some kind of impulsive actions of excessive buying, excessive selling, excessive trading in hunt for better number projection on your portfolio. And the opposite, or the kind of desired way to do it, in my opinion, is have a goal which can you quantify, that I want to actually save for my children's education 15 years from now. I want to be actually retired in a very nice way in 20 years from now. I want to basically save for my dream home, which is 7 years from now. I think we had covered an episode where we said all goals that you set in life should be specific, should be measurable, should be achievable, should be realistic, and should have a time bound kind of a threshold around it, so that you can actually go and set for that goal. And the moment you do that, you would not be tracking numbers on a daily basis, but possibly on a periodic basis, so that you can say, do I need any kind of course correction? If you don't do that and only chase a number in mind, you will hunt for returns, and returns are not necessarily controlled by you or investment decisions, but also controlled by markets. So I would say that have goals which are more specific rather than actually having generalistic goals, which is wealth creation and X crores that you want to save.
But then, in this motivation, how do you avoid distraction? There's so much of noise happening around you. I mean, you've got your goals set, but then there are chances, of you to just fall off the track. So how can one make sure that you are really disciplined and aiming to what you are investing for and not get distracted?
I think it's a quite tough one, Kavita, because by human nature we are wired to check our bank balances, check the portfolio performance, track markets. If you start investing closely, we would be getting into these behaviors. And I think one of the ways you can avoid falling into traps of excessive trading and things like that is actually have a set plan. The moment you have a set plan, that means it will fall into some kind of investment horizon that you would have. It may require that you have an asset allocation plan to be followed, which may be 70-30 in favor of equity this year. And because you'll be tracking markets, and you can set some principle that I would do rebalancing every 3 months, every 6 months, I'll review my asset allocation. The moment you do that, that means you'll be taking some kind of actions on your portfolio, because 70-30 would have become 75-25 or 65-35. And even that action of getting it back into shape of 70-30 is an act that you would be doing for yourself and satisfy that urge to do something. So we call it rebalancing, and we have a service called ED Money Genius, under which we do that. So I think that aspect of monthly or periodic rebalancing can give you that satisfaction. You did something with respect to markets, maybe book profits, maybe book some losses, maybe avoided something altogether, maybe diversified your portfolio just in time. So those kind of actions will keep you occupied, And because they will have set plan in nature, they will also not be causing chaotic or random decision in your investment framework. And I think it's a good balancing act to do that. Instead of saying that I would actually act in a very resolute manner where I would not touch my investments at all. I don't think that's possible.
And because you are so disciplined and you have this plan in place, you can actually make your money work for you, which is your next principle.
Yeah, so the moment you say you basically go and make money work for you, I think it actually opens up a plethora of choices for yourself, depending on what suits your profile. I think there are multiple ways to add a secondary source of income without moonlighting in life, which can actually be earning, kind of investing in dividend income sources, investing in real estate, which can actually give you some kind of stable rental income. It can be investing in REITs if you don't have a lot of corpus to buy an apartment or a land to give it on rent. You can invest in a real estate investment trust units and actually get quarterly dividends paid into your account on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. Or it can be simple that you invested in some kind of investment plan, which basically has a predictable kind of withdrawal plan attached to it after a few years of investments. So if you do that, then what happens is some kind of money keeps trickling into your account and actually can take care of unplanned cash flows as well. So making your money work hard for you doesn't mean that you actually putting a lot of time behind it and moonlight yourself. You would rather be basically investing in passive sources of income like what you just talked about.
All right. And how important it is for you to understand the power of compounding? And obviously, for that, you need to be really invested for a longer period of time. But then, how can one understand power of compounding? We've spoken about this a lot of times on the show earlier as well. But then, talking about creating wealth, how essential it is.
So I think, Kavita, one of the best ways is to possibly understand with numbers because it possibly can open up a very different perspective on compounding. So I was doing some math before the show, and I looked up if you we have an ET Money SIP calculator on ET Money website, and it shows up very interesting stats. So if you do an 5,000 rupee SIP for 10 years. At 10% kind of projected return, you might end up having about 10 lakh rupees of your corpus. But the moment you extend the SIP for 20 years and not for only 10 years, this amount becomes 4x, almost becomes 39 lakh rupees. So what it tells you that the return remaining same can actually grow your corpus multifold if you give time to that return to be earned. So same return 10%, you just give extra 10 years to it, doesn't give you double the amount of 10 lakh, but it gives you 4x. It gives you 4 times that amount of 10 lakh rupees. So what happens is in compounding, what we underappreciate is your investment keeps growing at a rate of return. What you earn as return also keeps going on a rate of return, and you also add up more capital to it, and the compounding just basically goes on a flywheel. And you have to experience it to be able to kind of start believing in it to some extent. And I think there are enough examples where we've heard about Warren Buffett earned his first 1 billion at age of 65, and he's 90 plus today, and we don't even know how many billions he's added to his corpus. But what is important to notice, he actually was well past retirement age before he earned his first billion. And so the 1 billion that he earned actually allowed him to compound at a far larger rate than anybody else can do it. So if you give time to your money, it compounds automatically. If you and there's a saying by Einstein, I guess, which says that somebody who understands compounding earns it, and somebody doesn't understand compounding pays it. So basically, if you are somebody who understands, you'll invest your money. And if you don't understand it, you probably keep your money in bank account and actually depreciate your money by rate of inflation every year. So it's a matter of choice that you exercise as an investor, what you want to do.
Absolutely. Your next principle says that one doesn't have to, or one should not actually compare your goals and your investment strategies with your peers. So there's a lot of now noise around people just follow what their friends are doing, what relatives are doing. It's important for one to understand their risk appetite, their goals, and have an investment strategy. But then when it comes to having returns, a lot of times we just go off grid. How can you not get distracted on this one?
Yeah, so one of the ways to avoid that is understand that your own goals and reflect on your own life or professional life, financial life as an individual. You would discover that your own priorities actually change every few years. The goals you wanted to achieve at the age of say 25 are not the same that you wanted to achieve at the age of 30, and necessarily will not be same as you move towards 35 or 40, and I can vouch for it as an individual as well. So if you know that your own priorities keep changing, then the moment you basically latch on to your wealth creation goals onto somebody else, you are basically opening up yourself to two kind of variations. One, your own variations that will happen as you discover your life. Second is somebody else's as well. And the moment you do that, that means you'll possibly fall in trap of following investment plans of other people, which may not be suitable to you, and both are detrimental to your own financial life. So keep that in mind, and you will possibly stay away from it. And I think one more point I would like to add here is many times, even if we don't really have goals which are of our peers, we possibly end up having return expectation of our portfolio to be similar to what our peers or neighbors have. In fact, I have this observation that most people actually judge their returns not by what they earn, but what is the neighbors, friends, relatives, and colleagues earn. So, and if you are also one of them who has basically earned good returns like them, you feel happy about it. If you possibly earn less than them, you feel sad about it and try to follow their portfolio principles. And that's where you fall in trap of taking excessive risk with things which may not be suitable to you, like cryptocurrencies or NFTs or digital gold or any kind of things which basically are good marketing material, but not necessarily good creation for wealth for yourself.
All right, going ahead, the last principle says that one should avoid taking shortcuts for their financial goals. What kind of shortcuts are we talking about over here?
Yeah, so it's like, as we say in life, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Similarly, goes for investments and wealth creation as well. You actually are going to be spending good 25, 30, 35 years of your working life by earning income, and you're going to be actually getting that much time to keep investing, and you would actually discover that on your working life you possibly will be exposed to 3 to 4 economic cycles, and if you take shortcuts, you possibly are going to be getting into investment products which may be stale, which may not be right for that perspective time, and maybe fade on fad of the season. To avoid this, actually go back to first principles. Know your goals, know your aspirations, know your investment plan. Actually follow that investment plan. Have an asset allocation and rebalancing strategy applied to it. And wealth creation, as I mentioned, becomes very simple. Everybody can afford to become a crorepati in life by just saving taxes in India. 1.5 lakh rupees Section 80C, 50,000 rupees of NPS, just 2 lakh rupees if you put money in a right way every year at a 8 to 9 to 10% compounded annual growth, you basically will be actually earning upwards of few crores by the age of 60 if you start at 25. So if wealth creation or earning that number of multiple crores is so easy, why take shortcuts is how I put it.
All right, so these were the 7 principles for creating wealth. Thank you so much, Santosh, for coming on board and guiding our viewers towards achieving this. And one can obviously log on to ET Money and get more information on this. Thank you so much, Santosh,
Thanks.
for being on the show today.